Imagine walking into a movie theater in 1977, expecting just another science fiction B-movie, only to witness the birth of the most influential film franchise in history. This is the extraordinary story of how Star Wars went from a rejected script to a cultural phenomenon that still captivates audiences nearly 5 decades later. The unlikely beginning. George Lucas was far from the household name he is today. His only major success was American Graffiti in 1973, a small, nostalgic film about teenagers cruising around California. But Lucas had bigger dreams, much bigger. He envisioned an epic space opera that would transport audiences to a galaxy far, far away. The problem? Nobody believed in his vision. Studio executives dismissed his ideas as too weird and uncommercial. Science fiction was considered box office poison in the 1970s. The genre was associated with low-budget B-movies, with rubber monsters and cardboard sets. Who would want to watch a movie about space knights and laser swords? But 20th Century Fox took a $9.5 million gamble, a modest budget even by 1970s standards. What happened next would change everything. 4 years of creative chaos. The production of Star Wars was nothing short of a nightmare. Lucas spent 4 grueling years bringing his vision to life, battling skeptical executives, technical limitations, and his own perfectionism. The filming locations tell the story of his ambition. The scorching deserts of Tunisia stood in for the planet Tatooine, while the unforgiving heat of Death Valley, California, provided otherworldly landscapes. Back in England, cramped sound stages became the backdrop for some of cinema's most memorable scenes. But here's what makes this story truly remarkable. Lucas wasn't just making a movie, he was inventing new ways to make movies. The magic behind the magic before Star Wars, special effects hadn't significantly evolved since the 1950s. Lucas and his team at Industrial Light and Magic had to create everything from scratch. Those breathtaking space battles that still give you goosebumps? They were achieved using elaborate miniature models, not computer graphics. Every explosion, every laser blast, every swooping spacecraft was crafted by hand with meticulous attention to detail. The iconic Darth Vader wasn't just one person, he was a collaboration. David Prowse provided the imposing physical presence, but it was James Earl Jones's deep, mechanically enhanced voice that made the character truly terrifying. That voice became so iconic that decades later, people still do Vader impressions at parties. The casting that almost wasn't. The 3 leads who became global superstars were relative unknowns when filming began. Mark Hamill was a young actor best known for soap operas. Harrison Ford was a carpenter who had done some acting on the side. Carrie Fisher was barely 19 years old. Lucas saw something in them that others missed, a chemistry and authenticity that would make audiences believe in this fantastical world. May 25th, 1977. The day everything changed. When Star Wars opened in theaters, something unprecedented happened. Lines wrapped around city blocks. Theaters had to add screenings at midnight to meet demand. Children begged their parents to take them again and again. Adults who hadn't been excited about movies since their childhood found themselves completely captivated. But the real impact went far beyond box office numbers. Star Wars didn't just entertain, it created a new language that became part of our culture. May the Force be with you became as recognizable as hello. The phrase evil empire entered political discourse. Parents named their children Luke and Leia. The revolution that changed Hollywood forever, Star Wars, proved that audiences were hungry for spectacular entertainment. Along with Steven Spielberg's Jaws, it created the template for the modern blockbuster: big budgets, wide releases, merchandising tie-ins, and sequel potential. This was the birth of the summer movie season as we know it. Some critics argue that Lucas and Spielberg ruined Hollywood by shifting focus from intimate, character-driven films to spectacle-driven blockbusters. Others celebrate them for returning cinema to its roots as pure entertainment, a magic show that could transport audiences to impossible worlds. A legacy. Written in the stars. The Academy Awards recognized Star Wars' achievements with 6 Oscars, plus a Special Achievement Award for sound. But perhaps more significantly, the Library of Congress selected it for preservation in the National Film Registry, acknowledging its cultural and historical importance. The empire that never stopped growing. What Lucas created in 1977 was just the beginning of something far more ambitious than anyone could have imagined. The merchandising revolution that Star Wars pioneered changed the entertainment industry forever. Action figures, lunchboxes, bed sheets, toys. Lucas proved that a movie could be more than just a 2-hour experience. It could be a lifestyle, a world that fans could take home and make their own. The financial genius behind this approach was unprecedented. Lucas retained the merchandising rights to Star Wars, a decision that seemed insignificant at the time, but would eventually make him one of the wealthiest filmmakers in history. Those toy sales generated more revenue than the original film itself, creating a business model that every major franchise now follows. The cultural phenomenon that transcended generations Star Wars became more than entertainment. It became a shared cultural experience that united people across age, race, and nationality. Fathers introduced sons to Luke Skywalker. Mothers dressed up as Princess Leia for Halloween. Grandparents learned about the Force from their grandchildren. The saga created a common mythology for the modern world, filling a void that many didn't even realize existed. The franchise's influence extended into unexpected realms. NASA scientists cited Star Wars as inspiration for their careers. Military strategists studied the Rebel Alliance's tactics. Philosophers wrote dissertations on the Force. Teachers used the films to discuss ethics, mythology, and storytelling. Lucas had accidentally created a modern religion, complete with its own moral code and devoted followers. The digital revolution and beyond. As technology evolved, so did Star Wars. Lucas became a pioneer in digital filmmaking, using his franchise as a testing ground for new innovations. The prequel trilogy, despite mixed critical reception, pushed the boundaries of what was possible with computer graphics and digital cinematography. Every technical advancement was motivated by Lucas's desire to fully realize his original vision. The acquisition by Disney in 2012 for $4 billion marked another chapter in the saga's evolution. New films introduced Star Wars to fresh audiences while honoring the legacy that came before. TV series like The Mandalorian proved that the galaxy far, far away still had countless stories to tell, attracting both longtime fans and newcomers alike. The enduring magic today, nearly 50 years after that first film premiered, Star Wars continues to evolve and inspire. Comic conventions are filled with fans in elaborate costumes. Theme parks transport visitors to alien worlds. Streaming services offer endless hours of Star Wars content. The franchise has become a permanent fixture in popular culture, as essential to our shared mythology as any ancient legend. But at its heart, Star Wars remains what it always was. A simple story about good versus evil, hope conquering despair, and the power of believing in something greater than yourself. It's a reminder that sometimes the most improbable dreams can reshape the world, that a young filmmaker's wild imagination can create something that outlasts generations. From a struggling filmmaker's rejected script to a global phenomenon worth billions of dollars, from 37 theaters in 1977 to a multimedia empire spanning decades. This is how Star Wars became more than just a movie. It became a cultural force that continues to unite people across the galaxy, just as Lucas always hoped it would. The Force, as they say, will be with us always, inspiring new dreamers to reach for the stars and create their own impossible worlds.